enormously in how we read this. Because one of the criticisms that sometimes are announced with fanfare and then quietly forgotten. What Order Number 06 of 2026 does is demonstrate continuity. There's a named program, Sagar Mein Saman, which translates beautifully as honor on the ocean or respect at sea. And now it has a phase 2 with real appointments and real committees attached to it.
Captain Manku, tell me about those appointments. Who has been named to lead this?
So the order appoints 2 joint chairpersons to head what is called the Task Force for Women in Maritime. The 2 women named are Dr. Kusum Kanwar and Ms. Ambika Singh. Joint chairpersons. Not 1, 2. I think that's deliberate. It signals shared leadership, and it ensures that no single point of failure exists at the top.
That's actually quite a thoughtful structural choice, Captain Manku. 2 voices at the helm rather than 1.
It is. And when you look at what sits beneath them, the subcommittees, you start to understand the scale of thinking here. Because 4 distinct subcommittees have been constituted under this order, and each one has a very specific job to do. The first is the Training Modules Development Committee. The second is the Capacity Building, Sensitization and Outreach Committee. The third is the Monitoring, Evaluation and Review Committee. And the fourth is the Institutional Framework and Governance Committee.
Captain Manku, when I hear those 4 names together, I notice something. They seem to cover the full life cycle of the problem. You've got the content side with training, the people side with outreach, the accountability side with monitoring, and then the systemic side with governance. Is that a fair reading?
That is not just a fair reading, that is precisely the right reading. And I'm glad you caught it. Because this is what distinguishes a serious institutional response from a symbolic one. A symbolic response says, "We support women in maritime," and puts a banner up. A serious institutional response says, "Right. Where are the gaps in training? Who is doing the outreach and how do we measure it? How do we hold ourselves accountable? And what needs to change at the level of policy and governance so that none of this collapses when the enthusiasm fades?" Those 4 committees answer those 4 questions.
And the fact that it's phase 2, that word addendum, it means the DGS is treating this as ongoing work, not a one-time gesture.
Precisely. The sea doesn't change in a single tide. And culture, institutional culture, doesn't change in a single order. What the DGS is doing here is creating a structure that can sustain its own momentum. Leadership is named. Responsibilities are distributed. The work is compartmentalized so it can proceed in parallel across different tracks simultaneously. Training doesn't have to wait for governance. Outreach doesn't have to wait for monitoring. Everything can move at once.
Captain Manku, I want to ask something that I think a lot of listeners, especially the younger seafarers, might be wondering. Sagar Mein Samman, it's a powerful name. What does it actually mean for a woman who is working in or trying to enter the Indian maritime industry? What's the real-world impact supposed to look like?
That's the most important question in the room, Sonia. And I appreciate you asking it directly. Because all the committee names and order numbers in the world don't mean anything if someone standing on a dock or sitting in a maritime academy or crewing a vessel doesn't feel the difference. The intent of Sagar Mein Samman and what these 4 committees are structured to deliver is that women should be able to enter maritime training, progress through maritime careers, and reach positions of seniority without facing systemic barriers that men simply don't face. The Training Modules Committee means that the content of how seafarers are educated should reflect the reality that women are seafarers too. The Outreach Committee means that girls and young women who might not even consider this industry should be reached, in schools, in communities, in places where maritime doesn't yet feel like an option. The Monitoring Committee means someone is watching, measuring, checking whether any of this is working. And the governance committee means that if the system itself needs to change to make room, procedurally, institutionally, there is a body tasked with identifying and recommending those changes.
When you put it that way, Captain Manku, it really does feel like someone sat down and thought, what would it take to actually do this properly, not just to announce it?
And that's what gives me genuine hope about this order. It's signed, it's dated, it's numbered. It's an addendum to a prior commitment. Dr. Kusum Kanwar and Ms. Ambika Singh have been named. Their names are in a government order. That means accountability. That means when someone asks 6 months or a year from now, what did the Task Force for Women in Maritime actually accomplish? There are named individuals, named committees, and a program with a name and a phase number that can be measured against.
Captain Manku, I want to pick up on one thing. The Monitoring, Evaluation and Review Committee specifically. In your experience, is monitoring actually the piece that tends to get neglected? Because it feels like it might be the one that decides whether everything else works.
You have put your finger on something I have watched play out over a very long career, Sonia. Monitoring is the unglamorous sibling of all the exciting work. Nobody claps when you publish an evaluation report. Nobody gets a photograph taken when you review a metric. But without it, without someone rigorously asking, is this working, and if not, why not? The most beautifully designed initiative drifts. It loses coherence. Good intentions become legacy documents. What the DGS has done by making monitoring, evaluation and review a standalone committee, not a footnote to another committee's terms of reference, but its own body with its own mandate, is to say, accountability is not optional. Progress will be measured.
That's a really significant thing to build into the architecture from the beginning.
That is your DG Shipping Weekly for this week. This is Captain Manku.
And Cadet Sonia. Safe sailing to all, wherever you are in the world.
This is Sailor Today International Maritime Radio. Your link ashore while at sea.
Thursday, May 28th. The sun at noon sits high in the northern sky and lower in the southern. A simple fact of the Earth's tilt that every navigator knows. You take your noon position and the day continues. Most people on this planet never think about where the sun is. You always know. Enjoy that awareness today. This is Sailor Today, your link ashore while at sea.
Your unmissable dose of vitamin C.
The Sailor Today shipping bulletin, the Strait of Hormuz is back in the headlines, and the news is not reassuring. According to G Captain, President Trump has dismissed reports that Iran and Oman were close to a deal that would see the two nations jointly manage shipping through the strait. Any agreement, it seems, remains a long way off. And it's not just diplomacy making the Hormuz picture darker. Hellenic Shipping News reports that the South Korean government has confirmed Iranian anti-ship missiles struck a Korean vessel in the Strait of Hormuz earlier this month. A Korean government inspection team gathered the evidence. Foreign Affairs Vice Minister Park Yoon-ju said, and we quote, "Much evidence suggests that Iran is behind the attack. Stay alert out there." Moving to fleet news, Splash 247 reports that Diana Shipping has raised its takeover bid for US-listed rival Genco Shipping and Trading. The new all-cash offer sits at $24.80 per share, up from $23.50, as the battle between the two dry bulk owners spills into a proxy fight for board control. Also from Splash 247, Scorpio Tankers is reshaping its fleet. The company has agreed to sell 4 LR2 product tankers for a combined $285.8 million, while signing a letter of intent for 2 scrubber-fitted MR newbuildings in China. For anyone watching where Russian crude is moving, Hellenic Shipping News has published a deep analysis using Signal Ocean platform data. Nearly 800 crude voyages were recorded from Russian ports in the first 4 months of 2026, carrying approximately 593 million barrels. the report examines exactly who is commercially operating that tonnage. Closer to home for green shipping advocates, G Captain reports that the Port of Long Beach is putting up a $1 million prize. It goes to the first ocean-going vessel to complete a commercial-scale methanol bunkering operation at the Southern California port. A significant incentive for the industry to push cleaner fuels forward. And for those of you focused on your own certification and safety, Ship Technology has published 2 pieces worth your time. One covers STCW regulations and exactly how they impact crew certification. The other looks at moving beyond snapback risk in deep-water lifting systems. Both are live on the Ship Technology website now.
MSC Cruises is hiring at Chennai, Bangalore, Kochi and Goa. Become part of our
ऑर्डर बजा बजा के बंदा क्रेजी हो जाए, छुट्टी में घर रेस्ट करे तो बीवी लेजी बतलाए, हार्ड वर्क कर कर के मोटी सैलरी घर पे लाए, 2 बैग संग चिल करे तो बीवी को नहीं भाई। मेरे यारों सुनो शिप्पी की कहानी, मेरे यारों सुनो हाँ मेरी कहानी। शिप और रिलेशनशिप में फंस गई जवानी, शिप और रिलेशनशिप में फंस गई जवानी, फंस गई रे।
देखने जाऊं, थोड़ी शॉपिंग भी कर आऊं, ऐसे स्वीट लिटिल से सपने मैं मन में रोज सजाऊं, पर आते ही फेर दे ये खुशियों पे पानी। शिप इस रिलेशनशिप में फंस गई जवानी।
मैं लहरों से टकराऊं, तूफानों को सह जाऊं, सी सिकनेस को भी मैं तो मार के दूर भगाऊं, मेरी टेंशन समझ थोड़ा मैनेज कर रानी। शिप और रिलेशनशिप में फंस गई जवानी, शिप और रिलेशनशिप में फंस गई जवानी।
बच्चे मम्मी मुझको कहते, पापा भी मुझको ही कहते, पेरेंट्स डे या कोई ओकेशन ये प्रेजेंट कभी नहीं रहते, बिलों की लाइन में कट रही उम्र ये मर जानी। शिप से रिलेशनशिप में फंस गई जवानी।
अर्ली मॉर्निंग को उठता हूँ मैं, शिप पे हार्ड वर्क करता हूँ मैं, ये जो घर गाड़ी सब कुछ है क्योंकि खूब सारा कमाऊं मैं, छोड़ सब कंप्लेंट्स चले चलता हूँ डिनर पे महारानी। शिप और रिलेशनशिप में फंस गई जवानी, शिप और रिलेशनशिप में कट रही जवानी, शिप और रिलेशनशिप में
We have to remember that it is a universal issue because every country needs to accept the other country's certification process. So one country doing something else and another doing something else, it may not work out. It may not work out for the structured system per se. So this is a challenge.
Hello and welcome to In Conversation With on Sailor Today International Maritime Radio. Today we are joined by Captain Halbe.
Some of the countries like India, for example, we are a manufacturer of simulators, world-class simulators. We have companies here. But at the same time, one-size-fits-all approach doesn't work. For example, in the Western European countries, when they want to propose use of simulators, their number of trainees is very limited. They have a smaller population. They have a smaller, domestic fleets per se. So, for them to control the training and education of seafarers on simulators is manageable. While for us, we have volumes. We have thousands and thousands of trainees coming out. How will you monitor that? Because finally you are going to certify someone based on that. So when he went on board, you knew he has gone on board 12 months because there is a proper entry. The process is there that today he has gone, day after tomorrow he's come back. You know exactly what he has done. But with simulator training, that's not going to happen. So that was our concern. And we did voice this concern that when we are making recommendations, we should be mindful of this fact that it's not just about the content of the course that is important, but how do you impart it is important, and to whom do you impart it and where do you impart it. These are the factors that need to be taken in account. This was one. There were half a dozen other items which were also where intense dialogue took place. One is matters related to cyber security and how much training should we give the seafarers for matters related to that. Do we need to make seafarers as cyber security champions? No, we can't, because his core knowledge is something else. He has gone there to do a job. So we need to see that just like in the office, if I have a problem with the computer, I just put my hand up and my IT person comes and fixes it. Or he tells me, "Sab, ye link ko haath mat lagana." So the seafarer also should be able to do that and not try to fix the problem.
Hello and welcome to In Conversation With on Sailor Today International Maritime Radio. Today we are joined by Captain Halbe.
But there was a debate on that because again the ramifications of that can be quite serious. For example, electronic navigation devices can give wrong positions. It's like the GPS that we use in the car. We see somewhere that the GPS misguided someone and the car fell in a creek and all that. We hear news reports. Well, that can happen on the ship also. And the consequences can be extremely, extremely disastrous. I mean, not that if a car goes in a creek, it is not disaster. It is disastrous, but it is limited to that car, hopefully, or some person around it. And I'm not trying to minimize that. But for a ship, you can imagine if a ship runs aground and the ensuing pollution, etc., which can be quite a big challenge. Mental well-being of seafarers, prevention of bullying, harassment, sexual assault, that took up a lot of time to discuss as to how much it should be, whom should be trained for that, how should they be trained for that. And that is the need of the hour. There's no question about it. Because with the encouragement of other genders coming into maritime, it is not going to remain a male-dominated bastion anymore, and rightly so, it should be. So that was one of the factors that was largely discussed. And how do we factor in new technologies that are coming in, which are required for protection of the environment. traditionally, the fuels we use, here ashore we are now government is promoting battery operated vehicles because of less emissions. The carbon dioxide is not released by the vehicles and they run on battery or electric cars, as we say, EVs. The ships are too large to be run on EV mode so far, but alternate fuels is an option, and that was something that was discussed, and it was discussed where guidelines were drawn up of how to use different fuels and the safety challenges related to that. So all in all, a very active, very intense, but as yet not concluded, work in progress. That's what it is right now.
Very interesting. Well, Captain, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on Sailor Today International Maritime Radio. We don't have much time, so could you just tell us a little bit about MASA before we run out of time?
MASA, the full name is Maritime Association of Ship Owners, Ship Managers and Agents. And it was founded as an association more than 75 years ago, which was an informal arrangement at the time. And at that time, its primary function was partnering with INSA for crew wage negotiations for the Indian flagships. That is how it was, which it continues till today.
Lovely, lovely. Well, thank you so much. It's been an honor to have you on Sailor Today International.
Thank you so
Maritime
much. Been nice here. Thank you.
Captain Halbe, thank you for your insights. To our listeners, that was Captain Halbe, CEO of MASA, in conversation with us on Sailor Today International Maritime Radio. Until next time, sail safe.
Hello listeners, we want to remind you that the material and the information presented on this program are for general information purposes only. The views expressed and the language used in the content belong to the esteemed interviewees and do not reflect on the opinions of the host, our station, its affiliates or staff. Stay tuned for more informative discussions.
And that was In Conversation With. You are listening to Sailor Today International Maritime Radio. Coming up next, Calling My Jen. Contributed by Housers.
So many times and so many lies and so many friends and so much fun with you, with you, with you, with you. With you right now, and so many friends, and so many times, and so many times, and so many tries with you, with you, with you, with you, with you. Change, and nobody will know you, with you, with you, with you, with you. That time is changing.